Wait, what did you say?
How do I look? Because it really is about me.
I know.
It's always about me.
We know.
Are you taping that right
No.
now? Why does your breath smell like wine and it's only 10 o'clock?
I
What time is that?
mean, I had a protein shake.
Oh, that's funny. It's yeasty.
My God.
You're yeasty.
Did you? So for the past few years, I have been touring the world talking about Tourettes and comedy and loving what makes me me. And then I do Q&A at the end. And I would say 95% of the time, unless it's a teen performance, people ask me about my mom. What does she think about my Tourette's? What are her views on my childhood? How we got along? Hundreds of great questions. And while I've tried to answer them to the best of my ability, I feel like what better than to just invite on Motherface. So I'm excited to introduce you all to Motherface. Her name is Mitzi. I call her Motherface. Some people call her Tipsy Mitzi. She's got a lot of good nicknames. Say hello, Mother.
Hello, Mother.
We're just going to kind of shoot the shit and hang out and have a conversation. Right now, we're in my mother's bed because every night that I'm home before bed, we watch TV together. It's one of our favorite things to do.
90 Day Fiancé.
We watch trash television.
600-Pound Life.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
And my mother got married a year ago, and our favorite thing to do is tell him to leave so we can hang out.
Yeah. It's a very happy marriage.
Let's talk about Tourette's. Are you cool talking about Tourette's?
Yeah.
I have that. You know that, right?
I think you've been lying all these years. I don't believe
How
it.
great would that be if
Yeah.
just this whole time?
Yeah.
So, do you remember the day I got diagnosed?
Officially diagnosed. I remember the day I diagnosed you.
How did you diagnose me?
I was watching Maury Povich, and they had a show about children with Tourette's. Why is that funny? It was traumatic. It's traumatic.
Sorry, okay, keep going.
And I loved Maury Povich.
For those of you who don't know who he was like if Ellen DeGeneres and Jerry Springer had a baby. It was kind of trash.
Well, I was watching an Annie show with kids with Tourette's, and they were making all sorts of facial tics and movements, and I all of a sudden realized that my daughter was doing the same thing. And you were 6 years old, so I diagnosed you.
But then you did take me to a neurologist for a proper...
Not right away, no. I went to our pediatrician and told the pediatrician that I think you had Tourette's, and his attitude was, so what? Not a big deal. Was not a big deal. And he wasn't living with it, and he didn't see how bad it was, but it got worse as time went on.
So when I was first diagnosed, it was a really mild case,
it was
right?
It was eye rolling, mostly eye rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to kick my legs to my butt a lot.
That was a good one.
So it was mild at first. Do you remember when it started getting bad?
Probably right after that. When you were around 7 or 8, you had a teacher that started getting annoyed with you.
We won't name her because I don't want to get sued, but her name started with an M. We'll call her Mrs. M.
Yeah.
And she made me stand in a corner if I didn't have happy eyes.
Right.
She was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. So it got worse around then. And then it just got progressively worse as time went on. I took her to every doctor I could think of for a long, long time.
What was the hardest part about having a kid with severe Tourette's?
The pain that I felt helpless. I didn't know what to do for you. I wanted you to be a happy child, and you weren't a happy child. Other kids were going out and doing things, and you were home twitching away, and got to the point where you couldn't go to school. And I was fighting for you on every level of your life. It was like I was constantly at a battle with a teacher or a counselor or a doctor. The pain that I felt for you was terrible. And also the pain for me, because I didn't know what to do with you. And I felt like I wasn't a good mother because I couldn't figure it out. And nobody could help me because back in those days, it really wasn't spoken very much about Tourette's. And now I think it's a lot more.
And also mental health wasn't talked about.
And mental health wasn't
my Tourette's was so severe that I was incredibly depressed.
Yeah.
And no one talked, especially with middle schoolers, no one was talking about mental health and depression and disability. Right. It was like words that you say quietly behind closed doors.
Yeah. We took you to counselors, you had psychiatrists, you had neurologist. We did biofeedback. We did, gosh, what else did we do? We drove
Everything.
And in the meantime, you were homeschooled.
Homebound.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
That's where schools won't let you go, but they
wouldn't.
legally have to because it's
Right.
public school.
Right.
So a teacher would come to my house for 1 or 2 hours a week and give me some core subjects. But besides that, I was completely socially isolated at the
Right.
end. My Tourette's, again, was like broken bone severe. So I was, I'd lay in bed all day, flailing and depressed. 1 or 2 hours a week, a teacher would come teach me.
Right.
But besides that, I was totally isolated.
And the medication, you slept most of the day.
I did.
You were failing in school.
Because why care?
Right.
When the messaging had been long enough that, like, I am something other people have to work through, or I'm broken, it didn't really make sense to try.
Teachers were rude to her. She had teachers that were just making fun of her with her disorder. And you were smart. I mean, at one point in your life, you were in a gifted program. And then when the Tourette's kicked in, you just...
So I went from gifted program, where I was in a gifted classroom,
Right.
to my Tourette's getting severe, to essentially being put in, they tried to put me in special education,
Right.
then homebound.
Right.
In the course of 3 years, that shift happened.
Right.
But what people don't realize is, like, there's no way I suddenly wasn't smart. That's what's absurd. It's just the misconceptions. I think public school wants kids to fit into a box, right?
Yeah.
Typical school or special class, and there weren't in-between options, and I was an in-between kid. I was a kid who was smart, but had no control over my body, and they just didn't have or the noises that I made, and there wasn't
Right.
a place for me.
And as a parent, I did so much research, and I searched all over the country to find something. It was really hard at that point in time that to find anything that would be helpful for Tourette.
And we found an educational consultant,
That was in
an
Chicago.
advocate.
Yeah, she was amazing.
and she found, I think, 3 schools that she wanted us to look at.
And 2 of them wouldn't accept you.
2 of them wouldn't accept me.
And the third one, she said, was not a school for kids with Tourette's, but it was a school for kids that were round
Square pegs in round.
Yeah, square pegs trying to fit into round holes.
Which I then went ahead and ruined that entire phrase with t-shirts that I made and sold. But great phrase. Great idea. Square pegs in round holes. And what I think she meant was, like, it's kids who just, like, don't fit into a box.
Right.
Do you remember how you made the decision that I would go there?
Well, it was a small little school, and they accepted you.
My mother had some high criteria.
No, but
they were willing.
Well, I felt it was our last hope. And, I was praying that they would take her. I was just praying. I was just saying that somebody needs to help us, because we were all falling apart. The family was falling apart at that point. We all needed help. And
not just because of me. There were other issues that our family was.
you were
Thank
a
you.
big part of it.
I win.
Yeah. And I did have another child.
An older sister who's perfect, who needed very little raising.
She raised herself.
She did raise herself.
Oh, God. Will you scratch my back? I
Yeah.
know it.
Where?
Oh, right there. To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. Everything I own's in a box to the left.
I'm like,
Up higher. Up
oh
higher.
my God, don't
Yeah,
yell at me.
hard. That's it. You got it. Okay, that's good. Thank you. I forgot what we were talking about.
Were you drinking?
No.
So you dropped me off on that first day. Did you cry when you left me there?
No, I was really happy to get rid of you. I was scared. I didn't know what to do with you anymore, Pam. I really thought you were going to be on the streets. I really thought if this didn't make it, we were done. And you had such a bad attitude because you were angry all the time. You were mean.
But that's normal. For a kid
And
who's
angry.
severely depressed, it often shows up as anger.
Right.
It's much easier to be angry than scared.
Yeah.
And I was terrified.
You were, yeah, right.
And the boarding school was able to come in and push me in
Mhm.
ways that I think, as someone who was, as a mother, who you were, like, loving me and seeing me struggle, it would have never been possible. Did you ever have a favorite tick of mine?
I hated every one of them.
Aww.
Oh, the barking seal probably was still. I'll never forget the first time I heard that one. Whew, baby, we were in the car and you did that one, and I was like, "Oh my God, seriously?" The seal, like,
Don't. It'll make me do it again.
oh my God.
I've barked as a lot of animals, but I forgot about the seal.
Oh,
What do you wish for my future?
that you grow taller. What do I wish for your future? I wish you continued success and happiness and helping people on their journeys to go through life with these disabilities. I mean, I still think about some of the nasty things that people in authority would say to us. Or how about the one that talked about the mall?
That's a quote I actually use in every performance.
I've never forgotten that.
She said, kids with disabilities, kids like Pam, don't get A's or B's, they don't get into college, and they don't get invited to hang out at the mall. And if you lower your expectations now, it'll be easier in the future.
Ugh.
Hi, Deb.
Yeah. I mean, as a parent, when you hear, and your child is hearing those things, or that's what they're thinking, it's just.
But now, I'm not going to say that woman's last name. Her first name was Deb. But now that I'm in a place where I'm really happy, when I win an award or something great happens in my life, my mother and I like to have a glass of wine and yell, "Fuck you, Deb!" And yeah, a lot of things have been said to me throughout the years that were tough. And I heard those and they became my narrative. Like I internalized a lot of those awful things. And I don't want, I don't think we're ever going to be able to prevent people from saying awful things to young people who are different or have disabilities. But I do think we can create an army of people who are louder to change the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
so
my
too.
goal.
That's good. I like that goal. Now, do you drive me crazy still? Yes. Is your room still a disaster? That didn't seem to change.
Shithole.
But I am extremely proud of you, and I brag about you at every chance I get. And people that have known you from the beginning know what a journey this has been, and how, as a parent, it is heartbreaking to watch your child go through this.
Yes. Before we finish up, I was thinking about some of the lessons you've taught me throughout the years that have nothing to do with Tourette's.
What?
There was one about shaving your legs. What's that one?
Always make sure your legs are shaved in case you're ever in an accident. You want the hot fireman or whoever, make sure that your legs are shaved. I swear by it every day. Every day.
Shave your legs every day in case a hot fireman has to rip your pants off.
That's correct. Yeah.
It's been a message my whole life.
Yeah. Very important.
Well, I've been trying to talk my mother for weeks into coming on this channel. Y'all, thanks for hanging out and meeting my mom for a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
She is a hero. She's my favorite. And I'm sure we'll film more videos together. So with that, shout out to my sister. Because in reality, the three of us are tight as hell.
Uh-huh.
And
they're raising me still.
We are still raising her. Mm-hmm. We at some point took over. It is a lot of work to raise our mother, but we are committed to having her turn out a good person. Uh-huh. She still says wildly inappropriate, not inclusive things, but I love her so much. Thanks for hanging out. You do you.
You do you.